Welcome to Monk's Temple. Let's take a moment before we begin. Just one full breath. Feel the air moving in, moving out. There's nothing you need to do right now except be here. This isn't about learning something new to add to your mental collection. It's about looking at something so close to you that you've probably never really seen it. Think about your day so far. From the moment you woke up, a voice has been narrating. 2 need coffee. I hope I'm not late. Why did they say that to me? I'm excited about tonight. I'm worried about tomorrow. This voice is constant, intimate, familiar. We call it the self. The ego. The I. Now here's a question that changes everything if you sit with it honestly. What actually is this I? Can you find it? Can you point to it? If someone asked you to show them yourself, where would you direct their attention? Maybe you'd point to your body. But your body is constantly changing. Cells die and are replaced. The body you had 7 years ago is gone, every cell new. Yet you feel like the same person. So you can't be your body. Your body is something you have temporarily, not something you are. Maybe you'd point to your thoughts. But thoughts come and go without your permission. One moment you're thinking about work, the next about something someone said years ago. Thoughts appear like clouds, drift for a while, and disappear. If you were your thoughts, which thought would be you? The angry one? The peaceful one? The worried one? They can't all be you, because they contradict each other. So you must be something other than thoughts. Maybe you'd point to your feelings. But feelings change constantly too. Happiness fades. Sadness lifts. Anger burns out. You've had thousands of different feelings in your life, but the sense of being you has remained. So you're not your feelings either. So what is this thing we call I? Where is it located? Can you weigh it? Photograph it? Point to it and say, there, that's me. This isn't just philosophy. This is the most important investigation you can undertake. Because the Buddha made a revolutionary claim over 2,500 years ago. He said the single greatest cause of human suffering is the mistaken belief in a solid, permanent, independent self. He said this I we've been serving our entire lives is actually an illusion. Not that we don't exist, but that we exist in a completely different way than we think. We exist as process, not as thing. As river, not as statue. And when you begin to see through this illusion, something extraordinary happens. The suffering that seemed so solid begins to dissolve. Arguments lose their fuel. Anxieties lose their grip. Fears lose their power. Not because life stops being challenging, but because there's no longer a solid self to be challenged. Think about a time you were completely absorbed in something. A beautiful sunset. Music that moved you. Holding someone you love. For just a few seconds, the inner narrator went quiet. There was no I watching the sunset. There was just the sunset, and the watching, and they weren't separate. In those rare moments, you experienced life without the constant filter of self. And those moments are often the most alive, most peaceful moments of our lives. Why? Because for those seconds, you dropped the burden of being someone. You forgot to protect and promote and defend. You just were. And that's what the Buddha's teaching points toward, not as a rare accident, but as a permanent way of being. This teaching is called Anatta in the ancient Pali language. Non-self. Not self. It's not a belief to adopt. It's an investigation to undertake. It's not about convincing yourself you don't exist. It's about looking carefully at your actual experience and seeing what's really there, beyond the stories you've been telling. So let's begin this investigation together. Not as a philosophy course, but as a gentle, curious exploration of your own experience. We'll look at where this I comes from, how it operates, why it causes so much suffering, and what becomes possible when you start to see through it. There's no rush. There's nowhere to get to. The whole point is to arrive more fully right where you already are. If this exploration of the mind is speaking to something in you, if the idea of seeing through the stories we tell ourselves feels valuable, please take a moment to subscribe to Monk's Temple. It's a simple way to support this work and ensure we can continue creating these spaces for peace together. Just look for the subscribe button below. Thank you for being here. Let me tell you a story. It's from the time of the Buddha, but I'll tell it in my own way, and I think you'll recognize something familiar in it. There was once a wealthy merchant named Anatta who lived in a great city. Not the Anatta who was the Buddha's cousin, but another man with the same name. This Anatta had warehouses filled with goods, ships that traveled to distant ports, and more gold than he could count. By every external measure, he was one of the most fortunate men alive. But Anatta was deeply miserable. He suffered from a constant, gnawing anxiety that never left him. He worried about his ship sinking. He worried about his warehouses catching fire. He worried about competitors stealing his customers. He worried about employees cheating him. He worried about robbers. He worried about taxes. He worried about everything, all the time, without rest. His family tried to comfort him. His friends tried to reassure him. His priests tried to pray for him. Nothing helped. The worry followed him everywhere, even into his dreams. He would wake in a cold sweat, certain disaster had struck while he slept. One day, a monk came through the city with a reputation for seeing into the heart of human suffering. Anatta, desperate for relief, arranged to meet him. He poured out his story, all his fears, all his worries, all his sleepless nights. He expected sympathy. He expected comfort. The monk listened patiently until Anatta was finished. Then he was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. He didn't offer sympathy. He offered something far more valuable. He offered a question. Tell me, the monk said, when you worry about your ship sinking, who exactly is it that will be harmed if the ship sink? Anatta was confused. Who will be harmed? I will be harmed. The ships are mine. If they sink, I lose everything. The monk nodded thoughtfully. And this I that will be harmed, where is it located? Anatta pointed to his chest. Here. Inside me. It's me. And this I inside your chest, the monk continued, is it the same as your body? When your body grows tired from worry, does the I grow tired too? Anatta thought. Well, no. The I is what experiences the tiredness, but it's not the tiredness itself. And when you have a thought about your ship sinking, the monk said, is that thought the I, or is the I what notices the thought? Anatta was quiet. The I notices the thought. The thought comes and goes, but the I remains. So, the monk said gently, This I that remains constant while thoughts come and go, while feelings rise and fall, while the body changes and ages, this I that you point to in your chest, can you show it to me? Can you hold it in your hand? Can you describe its shape or color? Ananda opened his mouth to answer, then closed it. He had no answer. He had believed in this I his entire life, served it, protected it, worried about it constantly. But now, when asked to actually find it, to point to it, to describe it, he couldn't. It was like trying to catch smoke. The closer he looked, the less he could find. The monk saw his confusion and smiled with great kindness. You have been suffering for years, he said, protecting something you cannot find. You have been building walls around an empty fortress. You have been fighting enemies that exist only in stories you tell yourself. The ships are real. The gold is real. Storms are real. Thieves are real. But the I that you believe will be destroyed if these things are lost, that I is a phantom. And you cannot lose what you never had. This was not the comfort Ananda expected. It was something far deeper. It was an invitation to look directly at the source of his suffering, rather than trying to rearrange the conditions outside. The monk gave him a simple practice. Whenever worry arose, instead of getting lost in the story of what might happen, he should simply notice the physical sensations of worry in his body. The tightness in his chest. The shallowness of his breath. The tension in his shoulders. And he should notice the thoughts as they arose, not as truth, but as mental events, like clouds passing through the sky. And most importantly, he should notice the one who was noticing all of this, and ask gently, who is this? Who is watching? Ananda tried this. It wasn't easy at first. The worry was powerful, deeply conditioned. But gradually, something shifted. He would notice the worry arising, and instead of being swallowed by it, he would observe it. He would feel the tightness in his chest, and instead of panicking, he would just feel it, noticing how it changed from moment to moment. He would see the thoughts about sinking ships, and instead of believing them, he would just watch them, noticing how they appeared and then, if he didn't grab onto them, how they disappeared. And in those moments of observation, he discovered something remarkable. The suffering wasn't in the worry itself. The suffering was in the identification with the worry. The moment he stopped believing he was the one worrying, and simply noticed worry as a passing phenomenon, the torture stopped. There was still sensation. There were still thoughts. But the desperate, clinging, terrified quality was gone. It was like watching a storm from inside a sturdy house instead of being caught outside in it. This is the first glimpse of Anatta. It's not about getting rid of thoughts or feelings. It's about no longer mistaking them for who you are. It's about recognizing that you are not the weather. You are the sky. The clouds come, the clouds go. The storms rage, the storms pass. The sky remains. Unharmed. Untouched. Free. Let's go deeper into this investigation. The Buddha didn't just say there's no self and leave it there. He gave us a practical framework for looking at our experience, a kind of map for deconstructing the illusion. He called it the 5 aggregates, or skandhas. Think of them as 5 streams of experience that flow together to create the illusion of a solid, separate self. The first aggregate is form, or rupa. This includes your physical body and the entire material world you interact with. Your skin, your bones, your organs. the chair you're sitting on, the air touching your skin, the sound waves hitting your eardrums. All of this is form. It's the physical dimension of experience. Now here's the crucial thing about form. It is constantly changing. Absolutely constantly. Your body is not a static thing. It's a process, a river of biological activity. Cells are being born and dying every second. Digestion is happening. Respiration is happening. Circulation is happening. You are not the same physical being you were when you started reading this sentence. The change is subtle, but it's relentless. We spend enormous energy trying to deny this. We try to freeze our bodies in time. We chase creams and surgeries to hold back aging. We exercise obsessively to maintain a certain shape. We dress in ways that project a certain image. All of this is an attempt to make the form aggregate permanent, to make it a reliable foundation for our sense of self. But the Buddha points out a simple truth. Anything that changes cannot be a reliable self. If you were your body, then as your body changes, you would become a different person. But you don't feel like a different person than you were 10 years ago. So you must be something other than your body. The body is something you have, temporarily, not something you are. The second aggregate is feeling, or Vedana. This is subtle but powerful. Vedana doesn't mean emotions in the full sense. It means the raw, primal tone of every experience. Every time your senses contact something, a feeling arises. And that feeling can only be one of three things: pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. You see a beautiful face. Pleasant feeling. You hear someone criticize you. Unpleasant feeling. You look at a blank wall. Neutral feeling. This happens constantly, thousands of times a day, mostly below conscious awareness. Every sight, every sound, every smell, every taste, every touch, every thought carries a feeling tone. And this raw feeling is the trigger for almost all suffering. Because when a pleasant feeling arises, we want it to stay. We cling to it. We try to possess it, extend it, repeat it. This is craving. When an unpleasant feeling arises, we want it to go away. We push against it. We resist it. We try to escape it. This is aversion. When a neutral feeling arises, we get bored. We feel uneasy. So we try to stir up something more interesting. This is restlessness. Notice the pattern. The feeling itself isn't the problem. It's just a sensation. The problem is what we do with it. The problem is the grasping and the pushing away. And this grasping and pushing away is driven by the belief that there's a self who needs to have pleasant experiences and avoid unpleasant ones. But look closely at feeling. Is it you? Can you control it? Can you decide to only have pleasant feelings for the next hour? Try it. Close your eyes and try to make every sensation pleasant. You can't. Feelings arise based on conditions, not based on your commands. They are not you. They are visitors. They come, they stay for a while, and they leave. And if you can learn to receive them without grasping or pushing, they pass through you like wine through trees, leaving no damage behind. The third aggregate is perception, or sana. This is the part of the mind that recognizes and labels. When light hits your eyes, perception says tree. When sound hits your ears, perception says bird. When a memory arises, perception says that was my mother. Perception is like a mental filing clerk, constantly sorting and categorizing experience. This is incredibly useful. Without perception, we couldn't navigate the world. We wouldn't know a friend from a stranger, food from poison, safety from danger. Perception allows us to function. But perception also traps us. Because we start to believe that the labels are the reality. We forget that tree is just a word, a concept, a convenient designation for a collection of energy and matter. We start to argue about the labels. This isn't a protest, it's a riot. This isn't criticism, it's an attack. The labels become charged with meaning, and we fight and suffer over them as if they were solid, absolute truths. And again, the question, is perception you? Can you stop yourself from recognizing things? Can you look at your mother's face and see only shapes and colors, without the recognition flooding in? Probably not. Perception happens automatically, based on conditioning. It's a process, not a self. The fourth aggregate is mental formations, or sankhara. This includes all of our habits, tendencies, intentions, desires, aversions, attention, will, reactive patterns. It's our entire psychological conditioning. Think of sankhara as grooves in a record. Every time you react in a certain way, you deepen the groove. If you habitually react to criticism with anger, that groove gets deeper. The next time criticism comes, the anger arises more quickly, more automatically. You've conditioned yourself. And the fifth aggregate is consciousness, or vijnana. This is simply the raw knowing of an object. Eye consciousness knows visible forms. Ear consciousness knows sounds. Mind consciousness knows thoughts. It's a rapid succession of different consciousnesses, each conditioned by its object. Not one continuous thing, but a process, a fire that leaps from moment to moment. So here we have 5 aggregates. Form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness. All constantly changing. All arising and passing away. The Buddha's invitation is simple. Look at these aggregates. Investigate them directly. And ask honestly, in any of this, can you find a permanent, unchanging, independent self? Can you find anything fully under your control? If you look honestly, you won't find it. What you'll find instead is process. Flow. Arising and passing away. And in that discovery, something relaxes. The desperate effort to freeze the river into ice begins to seem unnecessary. You can stop trying to be a thing. You can just be the flowing. Let me tell you another story. This one is about a musician who lived in the same city as the Buddha. His name was Panchasika, which means 5 crests, because he always wore his hair in 5 knots. He was the most famous musician of his time, sought after by kings and nobles to perform at their courts. His voice was said to be so beautiful that even the birds would stop singing to listen. Panchasika had everything a musician could want. Fame, wealth, adoration. Audiences wept when he played. Critics praised him. Young musicians imitated him. He had achieved everything he had ever dreamed of. And yet, he was hollow inside. The music that had once brought him such joy now felt like a burden. Every performance was pressure. Every new song had to be better than the last. Every audience had expectations he had to meet. He was trapped by his own success, a prisoner of his reputation. One evening, after a particularly demanding performance for a king, Panchasika slipped away from the celebration and walked into the forest. He needed silence. He needed space. He walked until he could no longer hear the music or the laughter, until there was nothing but the sound of wind in the trees and his own footsteps on the path. He came to a clearing and sat down under a large tree. And there, to his surprise, he saw a figure sitting in meditation. It was a monk, completely still, utterly at peace. Panchasika had seen many things in his life, but he had never seen peace like this. He sat down nearby and waited. After a long time, the monk opened his eyes. He looked at Panchasika with a gaze that held no judgment, no curiosity, no expectation. Just pure, clear presence. Panchasika found himself speaking before he even knew what he would say. "I am the greatest musician in the world," he said. "People travel for days to hear me play. Kings bow to me. My name is known everywhere. And I am miserable. I have everything I ever wanted, and it means nothing." The monk was silent for a moment. Then he asked, "When you play your music, who is it that plays?" Panchasika was confused. "I play. My hands play. My voice sings. I am the musician." And when the music is most beautiful, the monk continued, when the audience is moved to tears, where are you in that moment? Are you thinking about yourself? Are you thinking about your reputation? Are you thinking about being a musician? Panchasika thought back to the rare moments of true inspiration, the moments when the music flowed through him like a river rather than being forced by him. In those moments, he said slowly, "I disappear. There's just the music. I forget myself completely." The monk smiled. Exactly. The moments when your music is most alive are the moments when the musician disappears. The moments when your art is most true are the moments when the artist is absent. This is not a coincidence. The self you think you are, the one with the reputation and the fame and the pressure, that self is actually a barrier. It stands between you and the music. It filters everything through its fears and its desires. But when that self steps aside, when it relaxes its grip, something greater flows through. Something that was always there, waiting. Panchasika felt something shift inside him. All his life, he had believed that his music came from him, that he was the source, the creator. But now he glimpsed a different possibility. What if he wasn't the source at all? What if he was just a channel? What if the music flowed through him rather than from him? The monk gave him a practice. For the next month, whenever he played, he was to experiment. Instead of trying to be a great musician, he was to simply get out of the way. Instead of performing, he was to allow. Instead of creating, he was to receive. He was to practice being empty, so that the music could fill him. Panchasika returned to his life and tried this. It was terrifying at first. Without the self to hold on to, he felt like he was falling. But gradually, something changed. The pressure began to lift. The fear began to dissolve. The music became fresh again, alive again, not because he was making it happen, but because he was letting it happen. He would sit with his instrument, and instead of thinking about how he wanted to sound, he would simply listen. He would listen to the silence before the first note. He would listen to the space between the notes. He would listen to the way the sound vibrated in the room, in his body, in the listeners. And the music arose from that listening, not from his effort. Audiences still loved him, but their love no longer defined him. Critics still judged him, but their judgments no longer hurt him. He was no longer a musician having an identity. He was music, happening. This is the paradox of creativity and of life itself. The self you're trying to be is often the very thing blocking what wants to express through you. The effort to be impressive creates performance that feels heavy and forced. The effort to be loved creates behavior that feels inauthentic and desperate. But when the self steps aside, when you stop trying to be anything at all, something genuine can arise naturally, effortlessly, as an expression of life flowing through you rather than you trying to capture life. Think about times in your own life when you've been most alive. Chances are, they were moments when you forgot yourself. When you were so absorbed in something that the inner narrator went quiet. When you were so present that there was no one there to worry about how you were doing. In those moments, you weren't trying to be anything. You just were. And that's the freedom the Buddha points to, not as a rare accident, but as our natural state when the illusion of self relaxes its grip. Let's return to the Buddha's teaching and look at another angle. There's a famous story in the scriptures about a Brahmin named Vasta who came to the Buddha with a direct question. He asked, "Venerable Gautama, is there a self?" The Buddha was silent. Vasta asked again, "Then is there no self?" Again, the Buddha was silent. Vasta left, confused and frustrated. Later, Anatta, the Buddha's attendant, asked why he hadn't answered. The Buddha explained something profound. If he had said there is a self, he would have been affirming eternalism, the belief in an unchanging, permanent soul that continues forever. If he had said there is no self, he would have been affirming annihilationism, the belief that death is total extinction and nothing continues. Both views are traps. Both views cause suffering. Instead, the Buddha teaches the middle way. He teaches dependent origination. This is the understanding that everything arises in dependence on conditions. Nothing exists independently. Nothing is permanent. But nothing is completely annihilated either. There is continuation, but not of a solid self. Think of a flame passing from one candle to another. The second flame is not the same as the first. It's a new flame, ignited by the first. But it's not entirely different either. Its existence depends on the first. There's a continuity, but not an identity. You couldn't say the second flame is the first flame. You couldn't say it's a completely different flame either. It's a continuation, a process, a depending. This is what happens from moment to moment in your own experience. The you of this moment arose based on conditions from the previous moment. The thoughts you're thinking now were conditioned by thoughts you thought before. The feelings you're feeling now were conditioned by previous feelings. The body you're inhabiting now was conditioned by the body of a moment ago. There's a stream, a flow, a continuity. But no solid, unchanging self traveling through time. This understanding has enormous practical implications. It means you are not stuck with who you've been. The patterns of the past have conditioned the present, but they don't determine the future. New conditions can be created. New habits can be cultivated. The river can change course. Think about a garden. The plants that grow today were conditioned by the seeds planted yesterday, the rain that fell last week, the sunlight that reached them this morning. But new seeds can be planted. The soil can be amended. Water can be directed differently. The garden is not fixed. It's a process, always responding to conditions. You are the same. Your anger today was conditioned by anger yesterday. But today, with awareness, you can plant different seeds. You can notice the anger arising, and instead of watering it with attention and justification, you can simply let it be, watch it pass, and choose a different response. The conditions change. The future changes. This is not about blame or guilt for past patterns. Those patterns arose from conditions too. They weren't your fault. They were just causes and effects playing out. But now, with awareness, new causes can be introduced. New effects can ripen. It also means you're not responsible for a permanent self that stretches back to birth and forward to death. You are responsible for this moment. This moment of intention. This moment of choice. This moment of awareness. And this moment conditions the next. Freedom is always available, right here, right now, in the space between conditions and response. The Buddha's silence to Vasta was not evasion. It was compassion. He was pointing beyond the whole framework of existence and non-existence, self and no self, to a direct experience that transcends concepts. He was inviting Vasta to stop asking questions and start looking. To stop theorizing and start investigating. To put down the burden of philosophy and simply be present with what is. Let's bring this into your own life right now. Think of something you've been struggling with. A pattern you'd like to change. A habit that feels stuck. Now ask yourself, is this pattern a solid, permanent thing? Or is it a process, arising and passing, dependent on conditions? If it's a process, then it can change. New conditions can be introduced. New responses can be cultivated. What conditions are supporting this pattern? Is it certain thoughts? Certain triggers? Certain times of day? Certain people? Once you see the conditions, you can begin to work with them. Not by fighting the pattern directly, which usually strengthens it, but by gradually changing the conditions that feed it. This is the practical application of dependent origination. Nothing is fixed. Everything is process. And in that truth lies your freedom. Not freedom from conditions, but freedom to work with conditions. Not freedom from cause and effect, but freedom to understand cause and effect and use it wisely. Not freedom from the flow of life, but freedom within it, as it, awake and aware and no longer trapped by the illusion of a solid self that needs to control everything. Here's another story. This one is about a woman named Sujata who lived in a small village. Sujata was known throughout the village for her kindness. She was always the first to help when someone was sick. She shared her food with those who had none. She spoke gently even when others spoke harshly. Everyone loved Sujata. But Sujata had a secret. Inside, she didn't feel kind at all. She felt exhausted. She felt resentful. She felt like she was performing kindness, not being kind. Every act of generosity cost her something. Every gentle word required effort. She was tired of being good, but she didn't know how to stop. One day, a wandering monk came through the village. Sujata brought him food and water, as she did for all travelers. But this time, something made her speak honestly. She told him about her exhaustion. About the gap between how others saw her and how she felt inside. About the effort of being good. The monk listened without judgment. Then he asked a question that stopped her cold. Who is it that is being kind? Sujata opened her mouth to answer, then realized she didn't know. She had always thought of herself as a kind person. That was her identity. That was who she was. But now, faced with the question, she couldn't find the kind one inside. She could find memories of kind acts. She could find feelings associated with kindness. She could find thoughts about being kind. But the kind self itself, the one who was supposed to be doing all this, was nowhere to be found. The monk saw her confusion and smiled. You have been carrying a heavy burden, he said. You have been trying to be a kind person. You have been performing kindness from a sense of self that needs to be seen as good. This is exhausting. This is not true kindness. True kindness flows naturally when the self steps aside. It doesn't need to be performed. It doesn't need to be maintained. It just arises, spontaneously, in response to need. He gave her a practice. For the next month, she was to stop trying to be kind. She was to stop identifying as a kind person. Instead, whenever someone needed help, she was to simply notice the need and respond, without any thought of herself as the helper. If help arose, fine. If it didn't, fine. No judgment. No identity. Just presence. This was terrifying for Sujata. Without her identity as a kind person, who was she? But she tried it. The first few days were strange. She felt naked, undefined. But gradually, something shifted. When a neighbor fell ill, she found herself bringing soup without the usual inner commentary. There was no, I am being kind. There was just soup, and a sick neighbor, and hands carrying. When a child fell and scraped his knee, she found herself offering comfort without the usual, I am a good person for doing this. There was just a crying child, and arms that held, and a presence that comforted. And for the first time in years, the exhaustion lifted. The effort stopped. Kindness became not something she did, but something that happened through her. It was no longer a performance. It was simply a response. And in that response, she found a peace she had never known while trying to be a good person. This is the paradox of Anatta. The self you're trying to be is the very thing that prevents you from being it. The effort to be kind creates a kind of kindness that is heavy and forced. The effort to be peaceful creates a peace that is fragile and conditional. The effort to be spiritual creates a spirituality that is brittle and judgmental. But when the self steps aside, when you stop trying to be anything at all, something genuine can arise. Kindness arises naturally in response to suffering. Peace arises naturally when the struggle ends. Wisdom arises naturally when the mind is quiet. These aren't achievements of the self. They're expressions of your true nature when the self is out of the way. Think about your own life. Have you ever tried to be something? To be patient? To be confident? To be compassionate? How did that feel? Chances are, it felt like effort, like pushing against a current. And chances are, the moment conditions changed, that patience or confidence or compassion collapsed, because it was built on effort, not on genuine presence. Now think about times when patience arose naturally. Maybe with a child you love deeply. You didn't try to be patient. You just were, because your love was stronger than your irritation. The patience wasn't performed. It flowed. That's the difference. That's what becomes possible when the self relaxes its grip. Sujata discovered this for herself. She stopped being the town's kind person and just became present. And in that presence, kindness happened naturally, effortlessly, without cost. She was no longer generous because she was supposed to be. She was generous because generosity was simply what arose in response to need. No self required. No identity needed. Just life, responding to life. Let's look at how this teaching applies to one of the most painful areas of human experience, loss. We all lose things. We lose youth. We lose health. We lose loved ones. We lose opportunities. We lose dreams. And every loss brings suffering. But where does that suffering come from? The Buddha would say it comes from attachment. From clinging. From holding on to things that are by their nature impermanent. The suffering of loss is directly proportional to the strength of the attachment. The more you cling, the more it hurts when it's gone. But here's the deeper insight. Attachment itself comes from the belief in a self. Because if there's a self, then there are things that belong to this self. My body. My loved one. My reputation. My achievement. My life. These things become extensions of me. They are mine. And when something that is mine is threatened or taken, I am threatened. I am diminished. I am harmed. This is why loss hurts so much. It's not just the absence of something pleasant. It's an attack on the self. It's a reduction of who I am. Every loss feels like a small death, because a part of the self dies with what is lost. But what if the self isn't real? What if there's no solid me to be diminished? What if the things I thought were mine were never really mine to begin with? This doesn't mean you don't feel pain. Of course you feel pain. Loss hurts. Grief is real. But the quality of that pain changes when it's no longer personal. Think of it this way. Imagine watching a beautiful sunset. You know it won't last. You know the colors will fade and the darkness will come. But you don't suffer because of this. You don't cling to the sunset, trying to make it stay. You don't feel diminished when it's gone. You simply appreciate it while it's there, and let it go when it's time. Now imagine if you believed the sunset was yours. If you thought you owned it. If you thought it defined you. Then its fading would be a tragedy. You would fight against it. You would grieve its loss. You would feel smaller and poorer without it. The sunset is the same. The only difference is the belief in ownership. The only difference is the self that claims it. This is the liberation the Buddha points to. Not the elimination of experience, but the elimination of clinging. Not the end of love, but the end of possessiveness. Not the avoidance of grief, but the end of the added suffering that comes from making grief personal. Let me tell you a story about this. There was a woman whose young son died. She was consumed by grief, unable to eat or sleep, unable to function. She carried her son's body with her, refusing to let it go, begging for someone to bring him back to life. Someone brought her to the Buddha. She fell at his feet, weeping, begging him to restore her son. The Buddha looked at her with infinite compassion. He said, "I can help you. But first, you must bring me a mustard seed from a house where no one has ever died." The woman's heart lifted. She thought this would be easy. She went to the first house and asked for a mustard seed. The family gladly offered one. Then she asked, "Has anyone ever died in this house?" The family's face fell. "Of course," they said. "Our parents died. Our grandparents died. Our child died." She moved to the next house, and the next, and the next. Every house had known death. Every family had experienced loss. As the day wore on, something began to shift in the woman. She saw that her suffering was not unique. Every person she met had lost someone they loved. Death was not a curse that had singled her out. It was the universal condition of all living things. Her son had not been taken from her. He had simply completed his journey, as all things must. She returned to the Buddha empty-handed but transformed. She no longer asked for her son back. She asked for something deeper. She asked for understanding. And the Buddha taught her about impermanence, about attachment, about the nature of suffering. She became his student and eventually found peace, not because she stopped loving her son, but because she stopped clinging to him as if he were hers to keep. This is the wisdom of Anatta applied to loss. You can love deeply without clinging. You can enjoy fully without possessing. You can experience loss without being destroyed by it. Not because you're strong, but because you're free. Free from the illusion that there's a solid self that can be harmed by loss. The pain of loss is real. Grief is real. Tears are real. But the added suffering, the part that says, "This shouldn't be happening to me," the part that feels personally attacked by the universe, that part is optional. That part comes from the self. And when the self is seen through, the grief can be what it is, pure, honest, and eventually, healing. Let me tell you another story. This one is about a young monk who was struggling with doubt. His name was Sapaka, and he had been practicing meditation for several years without what he considered to be significant progress. He had heard the teachings on Anatta. He understood them intellectually. But he couldn't feel them. He couldn't experience them. The sense of a solid self was as strong as ever. One evening, feeling discouraged, he went to his teacher, a senior monk named Mahakassapa. "Venerable Sir," he said, "I have been practicing for so long, and I still feel like the same person I always was. I still get angry. I still get greedy. I still get afraid. The self feels just as real as it ever did. What am I doing wrong?" Mahakassapa looked at the young monk with great kindness. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he led Sapaka outside and pointed to a large tree in the monastery courtyard. "Tell me," he said, "what do you see?" Sapaka looked at the tree. I see a tree, he said. And is it the same tree it was when you first came to this monastery? Sapaka thought. Well, no. It has grown. Some branches have been trimmed. The leaves change with the seasons. It's not exactly the same. And yet, Mahakassapa said, you call it a tree. You treat it as one thing. Is that a mistake? Sapaka was confused. No, it's not a mistake. It's a tree. It's also always changing. Exactly, Mahakassapa said. The word tree is useful. It helps us communicate. It helps us function. But if you believe there was a permanent, unchanging tree essence that existed apart from the bark and the branches and the leaves and the roots, you would be mistaken. The tree exists as process, not as thing. It exists as relationship, not as substance. He paused, letting Sapaka absorb this. Then he continued. The self is the same. The word I is useful. It helps us function. It helps us navigate the world. But if you believe there is a permanent, unchanging I essence that exists apart from the body and the feelings and the perceptions and the thoughts, you will suffer. Because that I doesn't exist. What exists is process. Flow. Arising and passing away. Sapaka felt something shift. He had been looking for the self in the wrong way. He had been trying to find something that wasn't there, and then feeling like a failure when he couldn't find it. But now he understood. The goal wasn't to find the self. The goal wasn't to get rid of the self. The goal was to see clearly how the sense of self arises and passes away from moment to moment, dependent on conditions, empty of any permanent essence. He went back to his meditation, but this time with a different approach. Instead of trying to get rid of the self, he simply watched it. He noticed how the I thought arose whenever there was contact. I see. I hear. I think. I feel. He noticed how the I thought was always accompanied by a subtle sense of ownership, of possessiveness. My experience. My body. My mind. And he noticed how this I thought came and went, dependent on conditions, not a permanent resident but a frequent visitor. Some moments, the I was strong, almost overwhelming. During anger, it blazed. During fear, it clenched. During desire, it reached and grasped. Other moments, the I was faint, barely there. During deep concentration, it nearly disappeared. During moments of beauty, it softened. During sleep, it was completely absent, only to reappear upon waking. Sapaka began to see that the self was not a thing but an activity. It was something the mind did, not something the mind was. It was a process of identifying, of claiming, of owning. And like all processes, it could be observed. It could be understood. It could be relaxed. Over time, the grip of the I began to loosen. Not because Sapaka had destroyed it, but because he had seen through it. He no longer believed so completely in the story of a solid, separate self. And in that seeing, a great peace descended. Not the peace of having solved a problem, but the peace of having put down a burden he hadn't even known he was carrying. This is the invitation for you as well. You don't need to get rid of the self. You just need to see it clearly. Watch how it arises. Watch how it grabs at experience and claims it as mine. Watch how it suffers when things don't go its way. Watch how it celebrates when things do. Watch how it constantly tries to protect and promote itself. And as you watch, ask gently, who is watching? Is that another self? Or is it just awareness itself, prior to all identification, prior to all claiming, prior to all suffering? That awareness is not a self. It's just presence. Open. Empty. Free. And it's been here all along, waiting for you to notice. So here we are, at the end of our long exploration together. We've traveled through ancient teachings and modern applications. We've heard stories of merchants and musicians, of monks and weavers and women burdened by kindness. We've looked at the 5 aggregates and the chain of dependent origination. We've sat with the Buddha's silence and explored the middle way between eternalism and annihilationism. What remains? Only this. The invitation to look for yourself. Not to believe anything I've said, but to investigate your own experience with the same curiosity and honesty that the Buddha encouraged in his own students. The next time you feel angry, ask yourself, who is angry? Can you find the angry one, or is there just anger happening? The next time you feel afraid, ask, who is afraid? Can you locate the fearful self, or is there just fear arising and passing away? The next time you feel proud, or ashamed, or joyful, or sad, ask the same question. Who is experiencing this? Where is the experiencer located? What is its shape and color and size? Don't expect an answer. Don't try to figure it out conceptually. Just look. Just be present with the experience, and with the one who seems to be experiencing it. Look with the same gentle curiosity you would bring to watching a bird build its nest. No pressure. No agenda. Just looking. And if you look deeply and honestly, you may begin to see what the Buddha saw. Not a self, but a process. Not a thing, but a flowing. Not a noun, but a verb. And in that seeing, the suffering that seemed so solid begins to dissolve. Not because life stops being challenging, but because there's no longer a solid self to be challenged. Not because pain stops hurting, but because the pain is no longer personal. Not because loss stops coming, but because the one who loses was never really there. Let me leave you with one final story. It's about a monk who was asked by a king to explain the essence of the Buddha's teaching in just a few words. The monk thought for a moment, then said this. When something arises, the wise person does not cling to it. When something ceases, the wise person does not grieve. The wise person sees that all things come and go, and remains free in the midst of coming and going. This freedom is not something to be achieved. It is something to be recognized. It is your true nature, hidden by the clouds of self, but never lost. The king was unsatisfied. He wanted something more elaborate, more philosophical, more impressive. But the monk just smiled and said, Your Majesty, the truth is simple. It is we who make it complicated. We add layers of belief and opinion and attachment, and then wonder why we can't see what's always been right in front of us. Put down the layers. Rest in what remains. That is enough. This is the teaching of Anatta. It's not a philosophy to adopt. It's a truth to realize. It's not a belief to hold. It's a reality to see. And the seeing is available to everyone, in every moment, right here, right now, in the middle of your ordinary life. You don't need to go to a monastery. You don't need to sit in a cave for years. You don't need to become a different person. You just need to pay attention. To look closely at your own experience. To question the stories you've been telling yourself. To investigate this thing you call me with the same open curiosity you would bring to anything else. The next time you're washing dishes, notice the sensations of water and soap. Notice the thoughts that arise. Notice the one who is noticing. The next time you're stuck in traffic, notice the frustration. Notice the stories about being delayed, about time being wasted. Notice the one who is telling these stories. The next time you're with someone you love, notice the warmth. Notice the fear of losing them hiding just beneath the surface. Notice the one who loves and the one who fears. This is the practice. Moment by moment. Day by day. Not to achieve anything, but to see clearly. And in that clear seeing, freedom reveals itself. Not as something you've earned, but as something you've always been. Thank you for spending this time with us at Monk's Temple. May your own investigation be fruitful. May you find the peace that comes from seeing clearly. And may you carry that peace into every moment of your life, sharing it with everyone you meet. Until we meet again.